Hey, this is Tom, and you know what to do. Don't click nothing, don't smash nothing, and mainly, don't buy nothing.
Ticker symbol PLTR.
Palantir is a buy. They have special technology. I wish we knew all the contracts because it's involved with the government. A lot of it's black box, but they are a very good company, and I say you should buy Palantir.
So let's start with Palantir and Jim Cramer. So Jim Cramer, the same guy who just in September said that Palantir is a buy at $29, is now saying it's not a buy at $12.
But, I mean, how can you buy that? I mean, if this stock were at 1,200, in other words, you just multiply, you did a reverse whatever split, then what you would see is people would be buying Palo Alto net. I think the attraction of Palantir is this ridiculous $12 handle, and I wish it weren't like that, because it is nowhere near as good as Palo Alto or CrowdStrike for that matter, even Zscaler.
Now, that would be okay if only he didn't confuse what they do for a living. Jim, they're not a cybersecurity company. Jim Cramer on the show was saying how Zscaler and CrowdStrike are better options than Palantir. I mean, Jim, this is not a cybersecurity company. This is exactly what happens when you have to have a one-liner ready for 57,000 stocks. I mean, Jim actually, I think, got confused by the latest run-up of Palantir and basically the stock that went up along with defense, military, and cybersecurity because of their data analytics for the government and, even for the commercial sector. So I think he actually grouped it in with CrowdStrike and Zscaler, and he got confused with what they do. Let's see what happens. Now let's talk about oil. Oil is going through the roof, 24% in just the past month. We started at $89 per barrel just a month ago. We're now at $110 per barrel. How far can this go? Obviously, this is driven by the fears out of Russia and Ukraine. I mean, Russia is not much of an economy. I mean, let's be honest, but they do provide 10% of the world's, market share for oil and much more in gas. So there's a lot of fears coming out of Russia and Ukraine for that supply chain to be completely demolished and prices going up. In fact, we just had $100 per barrel just yesterday. Today, we're at 110. How far can this go? 150, 200, 250? Well, not exactly. Before you go and buy oil barrels and put it in your backyard, hold on a second. You have to understand that basically OPEC is the actual price setters for oil, and they won't let it get to 150, 160 because essentially at a certain price, oil demand actually starts lowering. At a certain price, it doesn't make any sense to buy more oil, even if it means shutting down or slowing down your production or not touching your car, simply. So basically what's going to happen is that OPEC, and that's historically been proven, is going to find an equilibrium point where they say, well, enough is enough. We're going to release more supply to reduce the price. The problem is that OPEC is a bunch of gangsters. We literally are stuck in the war between a crazy dictator invading to a sovereign country, pushing up the oil prices up, and a bunch of, cartel members who are supposed to decide to stop the price increase at some point. It's not a good place to be in, but over the long term, OPEC, at least in the past, were consistent at pulling the brakes at some point because the demand is actually not worth the squeeze. At some point, the price is high, but they're not making as much money because the demand goes down. There's a whole curve that shows that. Let's hope that that's exactly what happens here because at $150 per barrel, we're going to have a really horrible time over here in the US and in Europe and pretty much anywhere outside of Russia. Now, just to say a few words about Russia, Russia actually came out with some new regulations basically banning people from taking out US dollars out of Russia. You can't take out more than $10,000 outside the borders of Russia. I mean, it's literally communist playbook. When I was a kid in communist Soviet Union, you had rules preventing people from taking out foreign currency outside of Russia for the same reasons. It's literally like an indicator of how bad things have become in Russia. It's almost like, tell me your economy is in shambles without telling me your economy is in shambles, pretty much. So if you wanted a sign that the sanctions are working, that's actually a very strong sign, along with the stock market in Russia not being open and every other story we just heard. Will it stop Putin? Who knows? Some experts say that it might. Some say that it won't. Nobody really knows because we're talking about a one-man show. Now let's talk about Tesla for a second. Tesla is actually widening the gap while everybody's talking about reorganizing Ford and the conflict in Ukraine and Russia. Tesla is actually getting shit done. Now, Tesla just came out with this new concept. They just deployed a whole supercharger station that was basically built prefabricated, and the whole thing took them 7 days. 7 days to set up a supercharger station. Now, not to mention the fact that Tesla is already far ahead of everybody else in the infrastructure as far as these superchargers. They just went up from 33,000 to 32,000 in just a year, a 35% increase in superchargers, not nearly enough to meet the demand, obviously, but nobody's even close. Now, here's the thing. When you look at Tesla and you look at what makes them basically the leader in the industry, in the category, well, it's the software, it's the FSD and the software, and it's the infrastructure. People don't like to hassle themselves with charging. If the charging is simple, if it's a 20-minute thing, if it's a supercharger, nobody can compete with that. And I think that most people actually buy Teslas because of the superchargers, not necessarily because of the software. But we can argue about that in the comments below. Tell me what you think. But in any case, Tesla is already leading in that, and now they're just widening the gap. In fact, they figured out a way to make more of these faster while nobody else has even started building those. I just hit my computer. And before I let you go, I do have to talk about Ukraine for a second. I want to give a huge shout out to the people of Ukraine, my Ukrainian brothers from another mother. They just showed the entire world how to stand up to a bully that's 3 times your size and still not go down without a fight. And I just want to take this opportunity just to again thank everybody who's been supportive of Ukraine and what's been going on over there. I hope we can actually figure this out real soon without more people losing their lives. I'll see you tomorrow.